What's going on, everybody? We're back with another video. We are continuing to break down these NBA teams and give our season predictions on them. Again, I've had a blast doing these videos. It's been a super fun time, and I've really learned a lot about these teams as I go through and research each and every player on their roster before I talk about them, because I don't want to give any misinformation on anybody. So I've had a blast doing it. It's really helped my knowledge grow as well. And I'm also learning how YouTube works a little bit better, so that's been fun too. Hope y'all have been enjoying the videos. I'd love for you to leave some feedback in the comments if you think there's something that I can improve on. I know there's tons of things as I'm just getting started still with the whole YouTube stuff. So any suggestions, feedback, leave it in the comments for me, or if you know me personally, send it through text, send it through Instagram, send it through Snapchat, whatever you got. But without further ado, we're going to get started today with the Los Angeles Clippers. I really and truly believe that this team is cursed, never won a championship, and as long as I've been watching basketball, there's always something that happens that prevents this team from even going to the championship. This past season, it was Kawhi Leonard getting injured in the conference semifinals. If you know basketball, you know Kawhi Leonard is a championship piece. He helped bring the Spurs to the championship and win it a few years back against the Heat. He was like the X factor in that series. He was the leader of that Toronto team that won the championship. And now he's on this Clippers team who hasn't been to a championship yet. But I truly believe that if he had been healthy for the remainder of the playoffs last year, that they would have at least been in the championship. I don't know about winning it, but they would have at least been in it. This is a team that, without Kawhi Leonard in the conference finals, took the Phoenix Suns to 6 games. So they were kind of right there on that border, but just didn't quite make it. But I think with Kawhi Leonard, that team's in the championship easily. And then you potentially win the championship if you're there. You never know how that series with the Bucks plays out. But we'll never know. We'll see what they do this year. Hopefully Kawhi comes back healthy. He's out until around January or February, recovering from this ACL surgery that he had. January, February is kind of around the time frame he should be back, so that's about the earliest we'll see him. From the time of the surgery, it's about a 6-month time frame on the recovery. So we'll see when he comes back, hopefully before the All-Star break. But if he's not fully healthy, I hope they don't try and push him. I hope he doesn't try and push himself. I hope he really takes the time to fully recover from the injury and make sure that he's good to go. But when Kawhi is healthy, the Los Angeles Clippers have a top 3 NBA duo between Kawhi and Paul George. Both of these guys are elite two-way players. They're great on offense, great on defense. And they both know how to win. When Paul George was with the Pacers running that team, he was giving LeBron fights when he was on the Heat. And now he was an MVP candidate with the Thunder. And now he's on this Clippers team and was helping lead them in that playoff push last year without Kawhi in the conference finals. And he was dropping 40 in a game or two. So he knows what it takes to get it done on the offensive end. Kawhi is Kawhi. If you know him, you know he's going to go out there and do his thing, and he's going to do it quietly. But he's an absolute killer on both ends as well. With Kawhi's injury in the playoffs, we saw 2 guys really step up. We saw Reggie Jackson step up as a scorer and playmaker. Reggie Jackson had some games where he just was absolutely unconscious from 3. He was just scoring at will, and it was insane to see because I've never seen Reggie Jackson play like that. He's had some solid seasons in his career, but most of those came when he was in Detroit, so there wasn't really much competition as far as scoring went. So he just kind of got to do his thing and run the team. Seeing him perform like he did in the playoffs last year was insane. And then another guy that stepped up, which really kind of filled that void left by Kawhi Leonard and his injury, was Terrence Mann, who came in and played some very valuable wing minutes. He was knocking down some big shots. He was playing some elite level defense. So with those 2 guys stepping up, the Clippers really have some key pieces that they need, and now they have those roles filled. And Reggie Jackson should be taking that starting point guard position full time now that Patrick Beverley's been traded off the team. And Terrence Mann should most definitely be starting with Kawhi Leonard out. And I would imagine they still start him when Kawhi Leonard does come back, assuming that he develops well. That him, Kawhi, Paul George, and Reggie Jackson can all play together on the court at the same time. I would imagine they would. I don't think there would be a problem with that. But Reggie Jackson locked into the starting lineup. Terrence Mann, not sure about locked in, but he's almost there pretty much. The starting lineup that I see this team rolling out with this season until Kawhi comes back, I see him coming out with a Reggie Jackson, Terrence Mann, Paul George, Marcus Morris, and Ivica Zubac lineup. Probably just butchered his pronunciation of his name, but it is what it is. But when Kawhi does come back, I just see Marcus Morris getting knocked out of that lineup there and everything else remaining the same. Morris and Zubac are really the two pieces that can be interchanged. And Terrence Mann could be, but I just don't see it, at least to start the season. Morris can be switched out for Batum. Zubac can be switched out for Ibaka. Terrence Mann can be switched out for Luke Kennard. Really just depends on what Ty Lue sees and what he wants to do with the lineup. Terrence Mann could also be switched out with Eric Bledsoe. Bledsoe could come in and play starting point guard instead of Reggie, but I highly doubt that one happens. So that'll be something interesting to keep up with, seeing what lineups they want to roll out there. And they'll have some time to play with the first month or two of the season, because this is a team that you pretty much know is a lock for the playoffs as long as everyone else stays healthy. And then you just get Kawhi back on top of that later in the season. You should be locked in for the playoffs, and then it's just a matter of figuring out what lineups work best, who plays the best with other players. Zubac is another guy. He's a young center still. I believe he's 23 years old. He was born the year before me, which is crazy. But he's a young dude. He can average a double-double with the proper minutes. If he gets 25 minutes a game, I think this dude's averaging a double-double easily. He's right there around like 9 points, 8 rebounds, somewhere around there last season. And he's been just kind of on that border almost his whole career, but he's never played more than, I think, 21 minutes per game was the highest I saw in a season, and that was last season. So I think this guy is just a guy that needs more minutes, and he can just continue to produce with those minutes that he's given, because he's not one of those guys that has to have the ball in his hand all the time to be able to score. He's one of those guys you kind of dump it into the post to him, and he's either going to score or he's probably going to kick it back out to somebody. He can also provide some solid post defense, averaging about a block a game. So if someone comes into the paint on him, he's a big body. He's 7 foot tall. I think around 240, 250. So he's a big dude, thick dude. So he can be a little paint stopper when he's in the game as well. Then you got guys like Serge Ibaka and Marcus Morris that are some veterans on the roster. They can knock down some big time shots still. They both rebound well. They both play solid defense. They're definitely both on the declines of their career. Ibaka more so than Morris. Morris actually shot some interesting numbers last year. He shot a slightly higher 3-point percentage than he did 2-point percentage, which was really interesting to see. He was shooting about 47% from both though. But he can still go out there and knock down some huge shots. Ibaka is just one of those guys that I feel like when the game is on the line or when they need some buckets, he goes out there and he hits some threes, he knocks them down. But both of those guys can really contribute on this team still, and though they're really needed in their roles that they have. And then some more guys that are some veterans on this team are Eric Bledsoe, Nick Batum, and Luke Kennard. These are all some veteran players that are just good scoring options. And that's about as much as they are. Batum can probably go out there, get you some rebounds. He can dish the ball around a little bit. Bledsoe can pass the ball around a good bit, which he should as a point guard. And then Kennard's just an absolute sniper, one of the better 3-point shooters in the whole NBA. So those guys are guys that can come out here and score. And then Justice Winslow is another piece that they have. He hasn't quite been what we expected when he was coming out of Duke. We thought he was kind of going to become one of those Jimmy Butler type of players, but the scoring just never really followed up there. And he's not what we thought he would be, but he is still a solid defensive presence. He'll be a good weapon off the bench for this Clippers team. And he should pair nicely with Luke Kennard, assuming Luke Kennard's not starting, because you're going to have Kennard that comes out as a sharpshooter, but not a great defender. You're going to need that great defender next to him. So Justice Winslow would be a good piece to pair together with Kennard off the bench and their second unit. Last thing I want to say before we get to the season predictions is I think that this team does have a strong rookie class. And I think it's a little bit slept on, the rookies that they ended up getting. But a lot of developing does need to be done with these guys. Keon Johnson's an uber athletic player. He just really needs to develop a shot, consistent shot especially. But we saw him set the vertical jump record for the combine, 48 inches. So dude can jump through the roof. Super athletic guy. He's going to be able to get blocks with that vertical. He's going to be able to go up and dunk on people with that vertical. He's going to be able to go up and get rebounds with that vertical. So he's really just got to work on polishing his game of basketball, make sure he gets that shot down. And if he can get it consistent, he's going to be all right in the league. Jason Preston is another guy that's a rookie on this roster. And I think LA is probably going to be bringing him in as that third point guard to start with, but I do think that he should be able to get some solid, meaningful minutes throughout the season, and they should really work on developing this guy, because we saw him at the University of Ohio last year, or Ohio University. I think it's University of Ohio. Either way, he was an absolute dog, super good scorer. He can pass the ball. The only real issue with him that I feel like is he needs to fill out his frame. He's a really skinny dude, so if he can fill out that frame and really get that size on him, he's gonna have himself a solid career in the league. And then Moses Wright's another rookie on this team. He's on a non-guaranteed contract, so that's the only thing that worries me with Moses Wright. Probably my favorite rookie on this team, as he is from Georgia Tech. Got to see him play live a few times. And I think his only thing is he just needs to adjust to the NBA speed when he gets there and gets into these games. And he obviously needs to make the final roster cut. So he's got to impress in training camp and in preseason. So that's really the only thing I see with Moses Wright, because his game is pretty solid all around. So he'll be a guy to keep your eye out on as the season goes on and as his career progresses. So my season predictions for this team, I had them at a 3 seed until I realized how long Kawhi Leonard was out. I didn't know that we still had that long to wait on him. So instead of a 3 seed, I'm going to bump them down to a 4 or 5 seed. They've got championship upside as long as they are fully healthy. Kawhi coming back. Hopefully the rest of the roster is healthy for their sake. But going to bump them down to a 4 or 5 seed. Like I said, championship upside, but I do see them making the Western Conference Finals again and getting bumped there once more as they did last season. They're going to put up a fight against any team in the playoffs. It's just a matter of being healthy for this team. So we'll see how the health stays, or how the health is for them throughout the season, how Terrence Mann progresses, how Reggie Jackson takes to this permanent starting role, see if he can play like he was in the playoffs last year. Because he was very, very impressive, and we'll see how these veterans help lead this team along. I will catch y'all on the next video. Tomorrow we got the next LA team, the LA Lakers. I know that one's going to be a big one to talk about. We do have a special guest for that one, so tune into that one, and I will catch y'all there. Peace.